What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Tasty Live. I am joined by a very exciting guest today. We have Max Anthony, owner, founder of MaxOptionsTrading.com. Does so much more than options. Has built a wonderful community for himself. Max, how are we doing? What's going on?
I am doing amazing, Gus, brother. How are you?
I'm doing great. I love the hair. I love the whole style you got going. My hair was that long until I don't know, about a year ago now. I got tired of trying to keep up with it. It's a lot of work having to pick your showers, pick your pool days. I respect it.
It's not great. I'm going to be honest with you. That's why I stick to bun 24 hours a day, Gus. I stick to bun no matter what. You don't come off of it.
I was doing the bun a lot, but then my hairline started creeping back a little bit, and suddenly it was like, oh, we gotta pivot. Yours looks great. You're making it work. I didn't have that type of retention.
I'm gonna be completely transparent with you. All right, it looks okay at this age, but if I did this, oof. You get a real dose of reality right there. That's military, that's law enforcement, that's trading stress, because I'm only 19 years old, Gus. All right, I'm only 19 years old. That's awesome. I didn't know you had long hair, and you got the rock and stash with it. That's a vibe, brother. You should consider bringing it back. All right, the world needs more buns.
I did like, you save a lot of money on haircuts in that first 18 months growing it out. It's a good place to be.
Yeah. 100%. I'm down here in South Florida. I don't know where you're at, but the heat, man. I mean, if you're going to have long hair in South Florida, especially at working, you gotta be able to put it up and get some air, because it is hot.
I was in Southeast Texas the whole time I was rocking that hair, so I absolutely can relate. And it gets big in that humidity too. I know how it is.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, getting into things here, I'd like to open with a broader question for you here before we really dive into the ORB and all the finer things. You've worked with and trained thousands of retail traders in your career. What percentage of traders would you say fail because they don't have an edge, and what percentage would you say fail because they don't execute consistently?
Having an edge, I think having a strategy, Gus, is one of the pieces. I think it's less than 10% of it. I would say less than 10%. And people are probably like, less than 10% of traders fail because they don't have an edge? Yes, because there's so much more to trading, whether it's equities, options, stock, futures, anything, any underlying asset. It's more than strategy. It's a lot more than that. Being consistent. Now that is a piece that a huge chunk of what dives into interconnected psychology, trading psychology, right? Consistency, having to really being able to put the mouse away and stop chasing the dopamine of wanting to take that next trade and that next trade. And so I would say 95% of traders fail because of psychology and consistency, and not as much strategy. I think strategy is simple. As long as you're not strategy hopping, when you're doing this long enough, like I'm sure you have and I have, you'll realize one thing: most of our strategies are the same thing rebranded with different words. And so you might like a different support and resistance zone than and you might call it something different, but we're looking for the same thing. I want more buyers to step in than sellers at this level, and I'm going to push buy confidently when that happens.
Yeah, I think that's very well put, and it's fascinating. But you're absolutely right. It's just there's all these different strategies, and even when you're talking about technical analysis versus not using TA or whatever it may be, ultimately
right.
Everybody's looking for the same things at those levels, and discipline is just so important. I couldn't agree with you more there.
Right.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of these strategies then. You've become closely associated with the open range breakout strategy, and I know that as we've been sitting here talking before we came on, you alluded to the fact that you're tracking the opening ranges for things today. Why do you think that setup has remained effective for all this time, despite so many traders being aware of it?
I think the most important thing that traders fail to realize with the ORB, with Orb, so obviously, first of all, I didn't invent the Orb. I think I just made it famous, again, because it was brought from people way before I was even born. And I think the most important thing is, one, Orb is intraday. It's not meant for swing trading. It's not meant for anything other than intraday scalping or day trading. And I think that's important because it gives you a fresh reset and perspective on intraday trading, which allows you not to have that pre-market bias that I think ruins a lot of traders. Right now, the market is looking like it's up 700 points, Gus. So immediately, someone like me, not like me, but someone like our normal retail traders, 700 points after what just happened yesterday where we were down 700, this has got to come back down. And they start forming that predetermined bias in their head. And I think that's what really is a crutch and a cripple for a lot of traders is before 9:30, they know what they're doing before the candles read the book to them. And that's a problem. That's a problem. Orb doesn't allow me to do that. I don't actually log into the charts until about 2 minutes to open every single day because I don't care what happened pre-market. I don't want to know. Unless you're an options trader or you're someone who's taking the overnight risk because you know those overnight swings are far greater than intraday. Like you're going to be very more profitable if you know how to snag those overnight swings than those intraday. But Orb allows me to focus as intraday as a scalper, which is what I am. I used to I day trade options selling, and I scalp futures. And Orb is the only simplistic, I need 3 lines on my chart, and it's going to give me everything I need for the current candles without all the BS that happened in the last 12 hours.
Yeah, love that, and yeah, and I think you make a really great point as well, and something that I see a lot is people forming those preconceived notions before the market ever opens, whether it be on the broader market or on
not only that,
names.
right? Not only that, they can't flip it. They're like I'm short, and they're just gonna DCA, and it's like, why is the hardest thing for a newer trader to do is to say I'm wrong, I'm going long. You know what I mean? Like,
it is, and yeah, and I think there's definitely some fallacies that come into play there as well. Of if you plan to get short, you get short at the open, you get stopped out, and then you try to get short again, you get stopped out. You start saying to yourself, well, if I get long right now and it goes down, I'm going to be so upset. But it's more just about playing the hand that you're dealt.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay, well yeah, let's talk. Let's change gears here a little bit. Let's talk prop firms. Let's talk prop trading.
Yeah.
A lot of traders today are entering the market through prop firms instead of individual accounts. There's all these various challenges where you can turn paper prop money into real money for yourself. What do you think the biggest mistake traders make is when they try to pass one of these prop challenges? And I know you have resources for similar things in your Instagram as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge proprietor of prop. I love prop. I have a lot of partners. I love prop firm. I think what it's offering to the retail trader is phenomenal, and we've never seen a regulated leverage like this before, where traders can enter the market for $20, $30, $40, $50 and turn that into thousands with discipline, with a good, consistent future strategy. It is extremely hard. Now, let's not have unrealistic expectations. 90% of people are probably going to fail that eval for a while. But then when the strategy, like you said, when you find something simple that works for you and you lock that discipline down, why do we take a mortgage and not pay our house cash, Gus? Why do we take a loan on a car and not pay the car? Why do real estate billionaires have more debt than anyone in the world? It's because leverage is key. Leverage is key. Unless you're Dave Ramsey, who probably hates everything I just said, who absolutely just puked with what I just said. Leverage is key, and prop firms offer leverage to traders at a scale we've never seen before in regulated markets, and I'm a huge fan of that. And I absolutely love the system that I created with options selling and futures trading and using prop to compound gains back into that option selling market. I think it's offering us a wheel outside of the wheel, and it's unbelievable. I love it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and I would add, I think my favorite part is that there's lots of people who are already good traders and who know that they are good and who are probably sitting around saying, man, if I just had more capital, I could be making X amount of money. And I think that these prop challenges and giving you access to that amount of capital can really shine light on the fact that, or I guess illuminate whether that is true or not.
100%.
Show you your strategy works.
An evaluation, a simulated evaluation, it really puts you to the test. There's a spark of pride when you pass an eval, when you get a funded, when you get a payout. You really rounded fourth, third base and into home plate with something that's very complicated that a lot of cash traders will be like, why would you put rules and boundaries on your stuff? Well, the challenge is nice. It challenges the ego, it challenges the trader. And when you get to the finish line, there's literally no better feeling than submitting a payout that you just bought an account for $50 and I'm submitting a payout for $2,000 4 days later now, because the payouts are getting more rapid, the firms are getting more competitive, and the only people that win when that happens is us, the retail traders.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, it's a win for all parties involved too. I mean,
absolutely.
The firms are happy to do it, and yeah, it's just I think it makes all the sense in the world. I'm with you there.
100%.
Okay, so we talk a lot of options here on Tasty Live, and we've talked a lot of options ourselves here. But I know you spend a lot of time teaching futures as well. So if somebody handed you $10,000 today and told you to rebuild your trading career from scratch, would you start with options? Would you start with futures? Would you go somewhere else entirely? Do the prop firms come back into play there? How would you choose to attack that?
So my system, I call it the Max Way. The Max Way, I say it's the only way. I would do a hybrid model where I would sell options to fund fund my prop accounts with passive income, and then I would try and compound the futures accounts, and I would take those profits, roll them back into account money and options selling. That's the system that I like to teach, but selling covered calls and cash secured puts on good underlying securities where you're going to see the benefit of, those credits. And one credit, like I said, 30, 40 bucks, there's your prop account. I would log in, I would start trading my prop account. That gives you your daily scalping, your good dopamine. That allows me to stay disciplined with options selling. And then I'm able to compound that and eventually scale those accounts to where at one point I have 40 funded accounts with 5 different prop firms. I have 40 funded accounts. Think about the compounding with that. I don't need to hit a home run every day. I need to hit 5, 10 points over a span of 5 days to be a very profitable trader. And then I can take that and grow my options selling and my wheeling, and I can reinvest, like I said, the wheel outside of the wheel. And that is the piece that I think a lot of people are missing, is like this wild level of compounding and leverage that's available right now to you. You just have to have the options toolkit and the futures toolkit knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think what's the best way to put this here? When you're going into these prop accounts and you are afforded that leverage, you're afforded control of a large amount of money for a small amount of real money, so to speak. Do you think that it's worth being more aggressive in those situations just because it's already sort of a plus EV proposition for you?
I think that's the biggest, like one of the biggest downfalls for a lot of people, is that the unrealistic expectations of, like, I always ask, we do a lot of interviews on my show, and I ask the people, I'm like, well, how much do you make an hour? What do you do? I always ask, what do you do for work? I'm a crane operator. Okay, so you might make $50, $60, $70 an hour. Why are you trying to make $3,000 a day trading when you make $400, $500 a day in your real job, less tax and fees and insurance? You're making $300, $400 a day. Well, why are you trying to make $3,000 a day? Where's the gap? Where's the bridge here that we're missing? And so I think that what you just said is one of the biggest crutches. I think people need to be more realistic, treat it like an actual job, dress up, come in feeling good, smelling good, looking good, and take it slow and smooth is fast. I think that's where the consistency and the success comes from. Using those lower dollar items to really compound into greater gains.
Yeah, I love that, and I think you make a great point about the goalposts as well. One of my favorite books on trading in general, and something I would recommend to any beginner, is How to Day Trade for a Living by Andrew Aziz. And something that he alludes to a lot in there is that if you can, just make $500 a day, if you were to do that with perfect consistency for a whole year, that's $125,000 a year.
$125,000, and you're not talking about primary income. You go work your job. Go work your job. This is, this could be your side gig, your side hustle, a piece of income, or a full-time income. And it's the hardest, easiest money you'll ever be able to make, and the greatest time to be a trader is right now.
Absolutely. And then the last question I have for you. This one you can take your time with this one. I know it's sort of a loaded question, but what's a trading belief you held 5 or 10 years ago that you think is completely wrong now? How has your vision changed over time?
Ooh, that's a great question. What is a trading belief that I first started? When I first started, I was very much involved with technical analysis and indicators. I was very much involved with the charts. I was just obsessed with the charts. And I was like, the key is on the charts. It's all right here. I just need the right indicators, to show me the way, right? And so I traded like that for a few years. I had a lot of indicators. I had a lot to just do with the charts. And then when I started simplifying my trading and really pulling back, do I need 3 momentum oscillators? I didn't even know that stochastics and RSI and MACD and all of these were just reading the same thing. I didn't even know that. Then you dive into momentum oscillation and you read about it and how they truly work, and you're like, I don't need any of that. You know what I mean? I can get all that from volume, which is buying and selling. And I think when I started regressing, and I got down to now, all I need is 3 lines and candlesticks. That's what I need to trade, and that's where I find my most success. So I simplified everything, which is something I was not doing when I first started. I was very, looking at every time frame, making biases, formulating game plans, pre-drawing out where I think shit's going to go, and it's like, that's not the case. And now it's like, I truly think the candles are the words to a beautiful book. And if you understand that it's just buying and selling pressure, the train is moving fast. And if I can get on the train with the right guys and get off at the next stop, that small piece is all I need over time to be a very profitable and consistent trader. Whereas back in the day, I used to swing trade and hold trades and just not care about what would happen. You know, I was playing a lot of earnings reports, and I went from like, how can I build this wealth further, to how can I preserve this wealth completely. And I really switched that mode from like, I think the best traders in the world are not on offense. They're always on defense. And that means you might cap some of the gains, but that defensive consistency is going to be longevity for you in these markets. That was the greatest switch for me. And so I pulled everything back, and I went from attack mode, 10,000 on AMD longs, 10,000 on Tesla longs, Amazon Prime Day, 50,000 on Amazon Prime Day longs on options. And then it would turn to, I'm selling puts on Amazon for $200 this week. You know, like the mindset was totally switched, you know, and I started writing guides and books on option selling and preserving the capital and playing defense. And I do the same thing on futures trading. Even with Orb, I took the option selling strategies, blueprinted them to my future strategies, added a little bit more technical analysis with market structure for fast futures breakouts. And it's been a beautiful, beautiful like succession in my trading and my development. But going from offense to defense, you know, that the greatest traders aren't the ones that are out here, I bottom ticked and went up 200 points to the top, I'm the man. Like, no, you're not. You're not that cool. You only need this much of that large move to be a successful trader, and that's one of the greatest misconceptions. And when I learned that and went to defense mode, which I never was in the first few years. Oh my God, I was a wreck. I was a wild wreck. Like, it's amazing I even have a story like I have, and I made any kind of profit. But that was the biggest switch that I definitely made from my early days until now.
Yeah, I think that's really astute, and I think that's such a good lesson for new traders. It's often easy to have this conception that, oh, I have to find this one system of technicals that just works perfectly for me, and it works every time, and I can just do this exact same inputs and get similar outputs. And
I hate when people say that.
In reality, it's so much more complicated than that. It is hard. It does require attention. You are going to have to slightly shift your strategy as you do different things. And I think you make a great point at the end there as well. Everybody, you know, they spend their time on Wall Street bets or whatever else, and they want the perfect bottom tick that goes to the moon. But if somebody came to me and said, yeah, my winning trades, I average a $200 profit, I would say, why aren't you taking the $50 profit trades too? You know,
right.
you should have all of these things in your arsenal.
Absolutely, and I think I always say to people, like, you don't understand, the setup might be the same, but the trade is not. The trade is like, trading's like fingerprints. Everyone is different, and it always will be. Every single trade is different. It's unique. You might have to adjust your risk based on the volatility of the day. The setup might be the same, but now the size of the candles are actually 25% larger and more volatile than the last one. So now are you adjusting your risk style so you can handle the emotions and the risk management differently? Are you sizing down? Are you doing these different things? Like, as a trader, you need to be fluid with the book that's being read to you that day. And that's the most important piece, right? Like, so people think that I could just go in and do the same thing over and over, and you cannot. You absolutely have to be as fluid as those candles. As they go up and down, you got to go up and down and adjust your size, risk, and emotions with it.
Absolutely. Well, that's all great. I think this is all just really, really wonderful tips. If you're a trader of any level, I think there's something that you can integrate here that we've talked about. So that's all the time that we're going to have with Max. I have to let him go attack these markets for the day at the Big Daddy Max on Instagram. He's got a Discord server, maxoptionstrading.com, all kinds of great resources there. He's got prop trading, he's got futures, he's got options. The guy does it all. Be sure to go check out his stuff if you got some value out of this today. Did I miss anything in the plug there? Anything you'd like to add?
That was amazing, brother. Thank you. You're an absolute legend, Gus. I really appreciate the conversation with you, my friend. It was awesome.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. It was great to have you, and thank you everybody so much for watching. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the Tasty Live YouTube channel, and we'll see you guys next time.
Awesome, brother. Thank you so much for having me.